Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Starin Town Hall. This month we are featuring Poly. With us is Mr. David Danto, who is the UC strategy and research. Man, you got a great title. Can you give us a little bit of information as far as what your great title is and tell us a little bit about Poly?
I certainly can, although I think I just minimized the, there we go. Now I wanted to see you. I joined Poly in February, working for the terrific strategy team there. I'm helping our team kind of get a good sense of what's going on the market, giving them my 4 decades of experience using this stuff, mostly as an end user, to try and help make sure that I make that conduit between what the end users want and the products that we need, and help with research, help with publicity, help with a lot of things. So it's a pleasure to be working for people that I like that.
Sounds great, and I know you for many years. And what's nice about David, for the people that don't know David on the town hall, is that he has spent more time, I think, on the end user side than you did on the actual, I guess the other side.
Yeah, as a consultant for about 7 years, and now I've been with Poly for almost a year. And you subtract those years from 40, and you can kind of come up with the average yourself.
That's a lot of math to do on a Thursday, which I refuse to do. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate you being here, and I know that our audience will have some questions that they will want to drop into the chat and to the Q&A portion of the thing. So, what we'd like to do is you and Poly came out gangbuster style over at the Zoomtopia this past summer. Can you give us a little bit of what happened? What was the big deal? What was the noise that you went over all the way out to San Jose to talk about? And then we'll talk about how Starin has now come involved.
Sure, I would love to. I mean, you have to understand how, and you've heard it from me before because we've chatted personally, but you know how much we were biting our tongues till they were bloody about not wanting to get these announcements out until we hit Zoomtopia and we had the big stage and the big platform. Poly which is, if people don't know, is the company that is formed as the merger between Plantronics and Polycom. Together we're Poly, the power of many. It's a great name for us. And here's the logo. See, wearing the logo. At Zoomtopia, we announced some brand new products for the market. We had already come out earlier in the year with our Poly Studio, which was the USB all-in-one speaker bar, microphone array, camera system, really outstanding device, the best value product in the market from speaker bar, the best features, most powerful. We launched our Studio X line, Studio X30 and Studio X50, combined with the TCA touch panel that's optional. and the whole big deal of the Studio X30 and the Studio X50 is they're single unit drop-in systems. You bring them into a room, you connect 3 wires, power, HDMI network, connected to a monitor, 2 minutes, and you're up and running with a native Zoom experience. You don't need to hook up a PC or a Mac or any other type of in-room compute. You don't need to deal with a set of spaghetti wires on the table. You just plug it in and go, and it's a native Zoom experience. If you're running Zoom rooms, you turn the thing on out of the box, you've ordered it in that configuration, it comes up, and you're running a Zoom room just like you are anywhere else. Now, I said it comes with this TCA touch controller, or it can come with this TCA touch controller. But it doesn't have to. It can either operate off of one of our Trio phones as the UC, or it's actually fully touch compatible. So you can put it into a touch-enabled monitor and not have any kind of a UI or user interface other than that one. It's terrific, and I'll go into some of the technical details around it as well. But it's also a price breakthrough. I mean, the MSRP for the X30 is $1,699, under $2,000 to get a fully equipped system in the room, working no problem. Obviously, if you add the TCA, it comes up a little higher, a little over $2,000. But still, in an industry where we had been making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 products for years, and $10,000, $15,000 products for years, to get something around $1,500, $1,600 that's fully Zoom capable, appliance, network manageable, scalable, and although a lot of people that have been using the Zoom rooms are using kind of a do-it-yourself kind of system where there would be a PC and there would be some peripherals and some wires and some microphones. Now you just drop it in 2 minutes, go, and you can scale that out to to tens or hundreds or thousands in an enterprise, we really thought it was groundbreaking, and we've had a lot of great reaction to it as well.
All right, take off your poly hat. Take off that. Okay, let's play a little. What's cool? Tell me what makes it special, David, because it's not. I understand it's the touch panel. It's the all-in-one. We get that, but what sets it apart from the other?
Okay, that's a great question. It's a fair question. And I'll take my poly hat off in this, so I won't use the we and us, and I'll use the them. So I wear a lot of hats, so I'll change my pronouns. Many of the devices that cover this DIY space, certainly for Zoom rooms and for other rooms as well, were kind of cobbled together. And when you put these cobbled together systems in, you may get some advanced features, you may not get some advanced features, but they all kind of have to talk to each other, and that affects speed and processing. For example, some of the other products in the market that are in the form factor, even just, let me reach around back, even just of the Studio, which is not the X series, it's just the USB product. There are plenty of other speaker bar cameras on the market, around the same price, but the difference is all the processing in this is in its unit. It's in the chip in the unit. It's not processing off of a connected PC or other processing device. So group framing, when you walk into a room and somebody else walks in and the camera needs to know to get wider, it does it in seconds. Very quick. You easily go to YouTube and take a look. Just type in Poly Studio and you can see the comparison side by side with some of the other players in the space. It does it very quickly. It doesn't have to just be group framing. It also does speaker tracking built in automatically. I grabbed the camera I'm using right now is the Poly Cube. I grabbed that camera with me when I went to Zoomtopia, and we did one of the Aviation TV analyst chats where I literally just dropped the camera on the table and let everybody talk around it. And I swear to God, I felt stupid that I had 4 years of college studying video production. Now the thing is just cutting the shots based on the people talking built into this one little bit. So all of that's built in. The audio, I mean, you could talk about Plantronics legacy audio and Polycom legacy audio. Again, not wearing that hat, but the reality is, unfortunately, in our space, in the AV space and collaboration space, a lot of the products achieve it works. The integrator comes, the DIY person comes, they put it in. Do you hear me? Do you see me? Great, terrific, Miller time, let's go, it works. But nobody talks about how good it is. The quality coming off of these systems, the quality of the algorithm, where two simple features. One is noise block, which is if you're typing on a keyboard, if you hear people pounding, or if you hear somebody ruffling potato chips or a car coming by, these systems, the USB systems, will hear that and automatically gate it out. It'll close it, so it doesn't interfere with the conversation going on with all the other parties. The new systems, the X30 and the X50, it's not a gate, it's a filter, which means if I'm typing and talking on the old system, yes, if I was typing, it would block it out, but if I started talking, it would open the gate and you'd hear the typing. These new systems, once the next rev of software comes out, I can be typing and talking, and it'll filter out the typing, but you'll still hear me talking. Really advanced AI processing that none of the other players in the market has. Or something called acoustic fence, which, especially if you're dealing with huddle rooms, I used to, when I did a paper for the IMCCA, we made the big difference between the idea of huddle rooms and huddle spaces, because these things don't always have walls. So if you're sticking, this little huddle, 2-3 person table in the middle of your workspace, and maybe it's got 2 walls, maybe it's got 3, maybe it's got no walls, you can actually tell these systems to say, you know what, past this certain point, don't let in any audio. So you can have them vacuuming, in the cube next door, but it doesn't come into the system. Really, really powerful stuff. And I guess my preference is, honestly, I don't like the idea of having to go in and plug, slot A into tab B and string the wire across the table and plug it in. It's like you're spending, a half an hour getting these wires strung up, and then the next person that comes in and either incorrectly kicks out a USB, it happens, or if they're smarter than that, they think, oh, look, I've got a USB, now I can plug in and get to my monitor, so they've messed it up. All of these things have a huge breakage, issue. I know that's been, an issue in some of these multiple component systems. You come in with a one-piece system, drop it in and go, none of that's going to happen. And again, you can now monitor it and manage it because it's got that capability. So I really think they're groundbreaking at that price, and I would be saying that whether I work for these guys or not.
Awesome. Well, you said a couple things that I want to highlight that I just want to basically just double check that
Sure.
the facts are straight.
I,
One, I am going to, yes, you may have that. One, I'm hiding my broadcast communications degree, so you did not send that on fire as well. I would like to keep that. I worked way too hard to get that. So that's the first thing. Second of all, the idea that everything is in one package or one device without having those extra failure points is a plus on what you said. Obviously, you know, any time that it's a wire to a wire and wires attached to wires and to this and to that, you obviously have failure points. So I get what you're saying there. Thumbs up for that. The other thing that you mentioned, which is pretty interesting, is the fact that you do the chip processing within the unit. As somebody who spent 13 years on site, the weak point in 90% of the conference calls or video calls and any type of web-based calls that I experienced had a lot to do with the processing power of the laptops that were handed out by corporate. They are not exactly going out and getting you the best video cards and sound cards to go inside those laptops. So the processing power being kind of taken away from the PC and brought into a device is another plus. So for the people that are sitting here watching and going, all right, what are some of the advantages? Yes, there's going to be great audio. Yes, they have a legacy of great audio, and they know what they're kind of doing with video because they've been doing it for such a long time, right? But the fact that is less wires, right? That is a big plus. Taking some of the processing power away from, you know, the lowest bid PC market that the corporate purchasing departments are going to go out and purchase. So now you kind of now can rely on the device itself. All positive stuff. So we already have some questions coming in, and I'm going to address them. So Sean has asked, what audience is Poly geared towards? Is it mainly corporate, or is it available for, well, I'm sure it's available for, but is it also intended for the educational market?
You know, that's a great question. I don't think we're limiting the scope for these devices for how they can be used. You know, we have more releases coming up as well. One of the interesting things about that I didn't mention that addresses that directly, the Studio X30, which is the smaller unit, the Studio X50, which is a slightly bigger unit, and the unit that Poly had introduced back in June, the G7500. When the next release comes out, which is, you know, probably less than 30 days from now, as we're talking roughly, you know, I don't know if you held to that, but it's roughly, all three of these units are going to be using the exact same code, 100% all the time going forward. So there's no uniqueness going on across the devices. So if you would like to get one of these small X30s and put it in a huddle room and use it in a certain way with certain features, but you would like to then put an integrator room in a classroom and run it off multiple monitors with interesting different I/O, the code's going to be exactly the same. You want a native Zoom room in the small one? Great. You want a native Zoom room in the big one? That's great too. It's all going to be universal going forward with continuous updates that will make sure these platforms stay stable and current across the board. So yeah, I believe, you know, all the verticals that you can imagine around the collaboration space, you know, whether they, you know, be education or financial or pharmaceutical or medical or just plain corporate. I mean, yeah, these devices finally get you to the point of scale in terms of collaboration at a very, very low point of entry, so it's worth it. Two other points that I'll raise with that, one thing that you said and one thing that the question brings up. Well, the first one is around all the wires and points of failure. We've had these interesting discussions, you know, it's not Sunday morning, Chris, sorry. We've had these interesting discussions in our industry in the past around what's better, the DIY, you know, run it through a PC, run it through a Mac, system, or, you know, more of the AV side of things, where no, I'd rather have an appliance in the room, you know, and I have a feeling that I like one better than the other. Other people are very strong and vehement in their feelings that aren't the same as mine. The Poly approach here is that it doesn't matter. If you're running, you know, a compute in the room and you just want this available as a USB peripheral, we make a USB peripheral device, the best value priced unit on the market, that, you know, best value for money. If you want these all-in-one systems, I think they have the same advantage you're talking about. We're making them available as well. So, I mean, I think, you know, more than just the wires coming out and the difficulty that you talked about, you know, my big concern is, all right, if we're going to be in a BYOD room and I'm going to be running the meeting off of my notebook, I want to do my email. I want to check Twitter. I want to see what's going on my social channels. I can't do that if I'm running the meeting. Or even if I somehow have the willpower to not do any of that during a meeting, but then I got to leave and the meeting's got to keep going. How do I do that? Do I transfer it? Do I use an in-room PC? So for people who like that model, yes, the studio is a terrific piece. For the people who don't want to have to deal with that, they want the all-in-one with the compute built in and the simplicity, that's what the Studio X goes for. There are a lot of features and functions around this. I think it's going to be available for any application that you need, and we're very proud of it.
So I guess there's another question in our question, but I want to ask a question because I want to, because I have you here. So now you're in trouble. My question to you is also now, you guys were kind of you supported Zoom, but now you're full Zoom certified. That was also part of that whole announcement at Zoomtopia. Am I correct? Like the native built-in, it is now approved.
If you go back 2, 3, 4 years in the industry, not just with Polycom or any of the other players in this space, the way the collaboration space used to work is you would pick a partner, and that partner would provide you gear. And then if you ever didn't want to use that partner, you'd go with another partner and probably have to swap out all of that gear. I'm not necessarily a believer that that's going to be the way it goes in the future. I think now you're going to pick a cloud and your service, and you're going to put in equipment, the best equipment that you need, whether it's PC based or all-in-one and appliance based. And let's say 6, 8 months later, you want to go with a different cloud provider. We're providing gear that will give you that native interoperability, that native experience on Zoom and on anybody else you choose to go with. Right now, there have been other names announced. There will be more names announced in the future. But the idea is that should you choose to leave your partner and go to Zoom, you don't have to change out the gear. It's now completely native. And if you order it that way, if you order it as a Zoom kit, you open it up out of the box, you plug it in, it wakes up, it's a Zoom room. There's nothing you need to do. So I think we're kind of getting the best of all worlds there, and I like the direction the industry is going.
Awesome. Another question that we have is, how difficult is it to install and operate these different Poly systems? And I guess these are specifically targeted at the X series because these are the new units that you guys have recently spoke about.
Well,
are they?
That's a tough question to answer without getting a lot more of the details. If you operate Zoom rooms now and you're comfortable operating Zoom rooms, then when you order the X30 and the X50 in a Zoom configuration and you open the box and plug in the 3 wires and turn it on, it operates just like your Zoom room. So there's zero learning curve. It is a Zoom room. It's a Zoom room using the advanced hardware and software that's available in the system. If you've never done that, or if you're ordering it in a different configuration, like a SIP or HV23 or one of the other platforms, again, it's your familiarity with that platform. Super, super easy to use. We're not going to be in the business of reinventing the UI and all the customization. We just want to get these things to work out of the box. 2 minutes, you're doing conferencing and everything's happening.
No proprietary cables, correct?
No proprietary cables.
Thumbs up for me, man. None of that. Do not want any proprietary cable. So I hope that answers Sean's question. The next question I have to, my eyesight is not all there. From a gentleman here, I will get his name in a second. Evening both, evening anyway. Will the Studio X and the G7500 be able to use the direct guest join feature recently announced between Microsoft and Zoom? That is coming from a gentleman by the name of Kev Talbot. I wish I knew who that guy was.
Yeah, probably just a troublemaker. I don't know. The interesting thing about the Studio X series is when they're running native Zoom, they will have all the features of native Zoom. And when they're running native on another platform, they will have all the features of that other native platform. So if a platform is making a feature change, the hardware, the peripheral will work. I like to think of these boxes as honking big smartphones, where I can do a Zoom call or a Google Hangouts Meet call or a Microsoft call or Teams or any of the other systems. They're all using the shared speaker and the shared microphone and single shared UI, but the apps that are running are native from the platform that's providing the apps. I don't see these as being any different. I do think that if you've got 10,000 room systems and you're primarily a brand A shop and you've got them all set to be brand A native, and then your CIO changes or something else changes in the market, instead of being brand A, you want to be brand B, the fact that some of the platforms have announced a higher level of interoperability is cool. It's great. It helps the day. But I think you'd want to be able to say, take all of our rooms, and as of Monday, wake them up as brand B rooms, and we can just do that. So interoperability is fun. Native experience is a difference.
You, sir, won bonus points for using honking big smartphone in a sentence. I would have never expected that on a webinar, professional webinar that we're having here today.
Hey, it's two Jersey guys chatting. You know? Not going to be colorful. What else can I be?
Well, thank you for making it colorful. Please put that on a shirt. I know a place where you can sell one.
Yeah, I heard of that.
So as of Zoomtopia, you guys are full immersed into the Zoom strategy. Starin now is a distributor of the X series product, which is part of the Zoom ecosystem, and it's part of a bigger ecosystem that we are working with from our side of the business. For the people that are listening, the Zoom ecosystem is an important ecosystem for Starin. We not only carry the products, but we are heavily involved in how these products are being deployed and how they're being used and what's the best way to make it easier. So for the question that Sean had regarding how hard it is to install, it shouldn't be that hard, right? None of these systems are designed to be that hard. It's conversations that I've had even with Mr. Danto online regarding how things have changed in the business. Yes, there are very, very ultra simple plug and play systems. There are ones that will add a little extra level of installation, I guess, knowledge to it, but that would be standard running wires if you want to hide the wires. 90% of the time, these wires are just basically going to the display and using the internal sound in the bars and the cameras itself. What I do like is, and I've had conversations with guys that play with cameras all day. The advancement in the USB cameras have been leaps and bounds, and it's something that in AV we don't talk enough about. We carry a camera manufacturer by the name of PTZ Optics, and the amount of engineering that goes into the actual lens making and how these cameras are working, it's incredible. For USB cameras, how far they've come over the last 5-10 years. It's not just putting the old, egg camera. You know what I'm talking about when I say an egg camera. For anybody there who's a Gen Xer would understand what an egg camera is. You put an egg camera on top of your camera and hope that it worked, but those were designed for 2 feet across from a monitor, audio picking up like that. The Polycom stuff that you're talking about is, you guys are picking up ranges. How is there a particular size range that these systems are designed for, the X30 and the X50 and stuff like that? Are they for the 20-person conference room, or are they for the 50-person conference room, or should they be limited to small group huddles?
Well, let me make a comment on that, and then I'll answer your question. There are a lot of manufacturers in the collaboration space, the one that I'm working for, and many others as well. And there are a lot of really good products and some not so really good products. By all means, assume we are all lying to you. Please do not look at specs, do not look at papers, do not look at boasts you see in ads on social media, because there are a couple of examples there of people that have taken camera from manufacturer A and microphone bar from manufacturer B and slapped them together, and somehow the specs are better than the products they put in. Go at least to YouTube and look for side-by-side comparisons of these products. See and hear how they actually perform before you do anything else. And then if at all possible, if you're in an area where you can get some people to come in and provide you demos, get some people to come in and provide you demos of this gear, because what people put on paper, is a guideline. Sometimes the guidelines are conservative, and sometimes the guidelines are way off the charts. I was going to use a New Jersey term there, and I won't. So by all means, listen to them. The guidelines that we post that are kind of middle of the road for what we're talking about is that the X30 is a good product for a 15-foot microphone pickup. So what is that? 2-3 people in a small huddle room. The X50 that we're talking more, that's close to like 25 feet. So you're talking about a small medium conference room in that case. The microphone array will sound good. We had a great video online, which hopefully will come back online soon, that just shows you again on YouTube how good the audio pickup is and what it sounds like. But you have to hear these things. Don't listen to the companies bragging. Listen to how the actual units work. And again, will we have more products coming out in the future at some point? Probably. But right now, we're really comfortable with the small, easy-to-use Huddle and the small, easy-to-use Medium, and then the integrator piece for the larger one. And then, the camera technology is, I'm floored. These are 4K cameras, not at ultra-wide lenses, and not just 4K in terms of a higher range and higher quality of pickup, but 4K with the AI and machine learning pickup and processing in there. The whole idea that it can do that video production switching, or it can, electronically zoom in on the appropriate shot to track a speaker and what's going on. Just stunningly high quality. Look at them, listen to them either in person or at least on videos online. Don't believe the marketing hype. Look at those things yourself. Again, they're just as easily available online, and you can make your own decision as to which one of these are terrific.
Sounds great. And the last, I guess, integrator-esque question that I have to ask you is there a way to get audio out or split the audio out? Because in every shape or form, integrators are integrators. They want to do better sound, or they want to bring sound to another part of the room. Is there the ability to break out the audio from, say, the HDMI?
Well, again, if we're talking about our series of 3 products right now, the X30, the X50, and the G7500, the G7500 is built for the integrator market. It's intended to have an integrator install it, or a very high-quality technical person install it. So you'll get a lot more I/O out of that one. The X50 will support some external microphones, and it has a little bit more I/O than the X30. The X30 is really not intended for that. The X30 is really intended to plug it in, get started up, and you have a nice little huddle room working. And then the Studio, which is the USB version of that, is literally just a USB peripheral to whatever compute you want. So I'm not suggesting that any one product is the right product for an application. That needs assessment is still the most value add that anybody in our space that can provide. We can help you with that, or your integrator can, or your consultants can. But we have a product along this a continuum for whatever the needs are that we're very proud of.
Sounds great. Well, it is part or time in our town hall that we select. So I have my producer out doing the little wheelie thing, and there it is. It's time for our Amazon gift card giveaway.
I just need to clarify before you do that nobody can use an Amazon $50 gift card to buy that Studio X50. I don't want anybody to think that we haven't gotten the price down that low yet.
No. Okay. All right. We weren't expecting that, but all right. The $50 gift card is for you to go out and get your Black Friday gear, which is coming up. So anyway, the winner, as the being sent to me here now from the question, has won the $50 Amazon gift card. And congratulations. Thank you for asking some great questions. And for everybody else that was sending in the questions, I appreciate that as well.
Chris, do me a favor. Could you repeat the name one more time? You may have dropped out, or it may have just been me.
It was probably you. The name was Sean Boswell. You got that? All right, cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending our town hall with Mr. David Danto. David, how can people get a hold of you or Polycom?
The website is poly.com. The best thing to do for me is Google me. You'll get 19 email addresses. They all work. Always happy to chat with people. Or NJDavidD on Twitter.
And I'm apologizing in advance for the slide that's about to show up, where I'm going to announce what our December town hall is, because some people in the office love to make fun of me and use me as a Christmas gift. So apparently I have now been turned into Mr. Ebenezer Scrooge. So on December 19th is our next town hall. I will not be hosting, but I will be part of the crew. The hosts of the show will be Bobby and Melissa. Bobby Schwartz, our president, Melissa Dillman, another fearless leader within the Starin organization. We're going to break down basically the year. We're going to talk about the past and what is coming for AV, some crystal ball, I guess, predictions, maybe, possibly. And let me just see what is, and of course, I can't see here. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending today's town hall. My name is Chris Neto. You can find me at Starin. I'm kind of Googleable. Is that the right word, David? Is it Googleable?
Google me.
Google me. That's what the kids say. Good. I'm glad you got that. You can find me. You can find Starin all on the internet. For Starin Social, it's down at the bottom. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. You'll find us all there. A lot of product videos, stuff that we have out there. A lot more coming. We're doing our best to bring a lot more information to you guys. People like David Danto, who is not only a product expert or a vertical expert, because you have been kind of playing in this or dabbling in this UC thing for some time now. As guests, we will be doing more town halls as we move along. So please remember, December 19th, we will be having another town hall, this time to review the 2019 year in AV and talk about some of the things that are on the horizon for AV. David, thank you again. On behalf of myself, Mark Decker, who is the producer, and thank you everybody for joining. My name is Chris Neto, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, Chris.